Do you guys ever catch yourself doing something where you're just like, holy shit, that came out way too easily or like way too quickly, or it came out very, I wouldn't say offensive, but very aggressive, and you're like, holy shit, maybe I wish I took a second to think about what I said before I just said it, because I think what I just said could have been, it's kind of, it's just, I wouldn't say inappropriate, but it can, if someone hears it, they might have a completely different viewpoint on you. Not in like a racial way or not like in a sexist way, but in like that person is a psychopath, like killer kind of way. Like that guy's dangerous or that girl's dangerous. Do you guys ever have that? Ever have that experience? Because I, for one, experience it quite often, unfortunately. I say things or I do things where I'm like, I probably shouldn't have said that. Like me saying that, I think might affect my relationship with people. Welcome, guys. Episode 96 of the Michael Lab Show. We're doing it big here, guys. Doing it big. Hopefully, by the next episode, I have my brand new mic, so I don't sound like shit anymore. Even though, honestly, I don't think my mic is terrible. You know, it's not the best. It's A2 2020, which is a decent mic. I've had this mic since the beginning of the podcast. I actually have two of the mics. And I've been saying forever, I'm going to upgrade the mics. And I did. I got one really nice mic. It's an expensive mic. It's the Shure, Shure, SM7B, I think. 7MB. SM7B. It's the best mic on the market, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I'm sure there's better mics out there, but for podcasting and singing, because I do a lot of singing, it's one of the better mics. Real, like, elite artists use the mic to sing songs and to put out albums. So I decided to finally upgrade. Hopefully within the next month or so, I'm going to get two of them. So when I have guests on, there's a better mic. I got to get a better arm, second arm. This is the arm that you guys can probably see right there. I'm missing a piece up here because it's here. And I'm hoping my new mic, when it comes in, it has this piece. So I can put that piece back there so I can at least have a second arm. But I need to upgrade that, a second mic, so people don't have to use a shitty mic when they come on to the podcast. Even though I don't have a lot of podcast guests, because I'm do much more soloing podcasts, which is something I enjoy, but it's definitely something I'm gonna switch up. I do like having guests on. It's when you're in your bedroom, man. It's hard. It's hard to have guests on when you're doing it out of your bedroom. But yes, I am currently, you guys are listening to this, you guys are watching this episode while I'm at the lake. I went to a lake in Virginia with my girlfriend, and we are hanging out there, taking the week off, escaping the chaos of Corona. Won't be socially distancing, most likely, but will be enjoying my time away from the house. Coronavirus has just kind of set everything back. I don't know. Haven't been leaving the house. Like, my biggest part of the day is waking up and getting coffee, and eating. Since I'm dieting, I'm not eating nearly as much. I finally weighed under 200 pounds today, which is awesome. But since I'm dieting, I'm not eating that much. So when I do eat, it's a lot of food. Like, I'm eating about 1,800 calories. So I'm eating about 1,000 calorie dinner around 4:30 to 5:30, which is early, but I need to make that later. And during the rest of the day, I have that 1,000 calories, and I make protein pancakes, and I have a snack. And then I have usually Cheesecake Factory steak tacos from DoorDash. That's kind of my day. Then I watch OITMB, Orange is the New Black, until I fall asleep. Watch a little bit of ridiculousness. Do a whole bunch of nothing. I'm reading a lot. I'm reading War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy, Russian novelist. Great book, complicated book. I hope I finish it while I'm at the lake, but I don't think I will. But it's like Inception. I'm at the lake while you guys are listening to this right now. It's kind of a mind twist, a mind bender on that one. But like I was saying at the beginning of the podcast, do you guys ever say things, do things, have thoughts, and they should just kind of stop as thoughts, but they don't? They are released into the atmosphere, and now they're out there for everyone's brain to listen to, which can be dangerous. I'm sure Donald Trump deals with that a lot. I'm sure he says shit all the time, or he's popped off of Ambien, or if he is on Twitter, 3 o'clock in the morning, tweeting out crazy shit while he's coming down off his Adderall high, about to rip another Xanax and go to bed. Shots fired. Boom, boom. That's just comedy, just being funny. I don't know. I'm sure he takes a lot of drugs. I've taken Adderall too before, and it gets the job done. But for me personally, it makes me depressed as shit. Like, the best way for me to explain it is that there's colors in the world that you see when you're sober. Because when I take Adderall, I'm not sober, and I'm prescribed it, so I'm not taking it illegally, but I'm not sober. It's weird. Like, prescription drugs have like this weird way of coming off as being sober, when in reality you're not. Like, if you're on prescription drugs, if it's an antidepressant, if it's a meth, Adderall, whatever it is, Xanax, you're not sober, you're high. But there's colors that exist in the world when you're sober that don't exist when you're high off of a drug. And I like colors. I like the rainbow. I like seeing a lot of colors. I like the world that evolution and the Big Bang has created, or Jesus, or Allah, or Moses, or whoever you believe created. I like those colors. So I want to see those colors. So I don't take it. But I would assume that Trump takes it. But then again, I'm sure all the presidents take it. I mean, when you're president of the United States of America, and the world in America depends on you and your great service to this nation, I'm sure you do whatever it takes to make sure the world keeps spinning. But yes, back to the thoughts. So I'm in bed, laying with my girlfriend, lying down, which I think we finally figured out. Her back is fucked up because my bed's fucked up. My bed's like a big cavern. It goes down. It's like I got like a vagina for a bed. It just kind of goes straight down into the middle, or like a cavern, or like a hill, just the bottom of a hill, a fissure, like the things in Alaska, or not, maybe not. I mean, maybe in Alaska, but I know like in Antarctica, where it's on an iceberg and there's just a big crack that goes down to the core of the earth. And if you fall down one of those, you're stuck and you just die eventually. That's like a huge fear of mine, is getting stuck in one of those fissures. You're dead. I mean, you're dead. You're done. You're done. I hope I come back with a better tan. As you guys can tell, I probably most likely need some type of Adderall today, because I have so many just things flowing through my face. There was somebody, I used to work with somebody that used to always say, I talk with my hands like this, like I'm an Italian. I don't realize that I do it, but I definitely do think I talk with my hands. Like, the better my podcast is, the more hand gestures I make, the more gang signs I throw up and shit like that. Just like, I don't know, I'm very animated with my hands, very Italian. Like, where's my spaghetti and meatballs? Say shit like that. But I'm sitting there, I'm lying with Taylor, about to fall asleep. And I roll over and I look at her. I'm like, actually, I don't think I look at her. She's like sleeping. So I wake her up with one of my beautiful thoughts. And I look at her. I'm like, what would be a great way to be a very successful serial killer? Like a really good serial killer. Like to be able to kill a lot of people without leaving a trace, without leaving a mark. And I don't think this can get me convicted. I don't think so. Hopefully not. Is if you used animals to kill people. So if you are like go to a lake in New York, for example, and I don't know, something happens in your life where you want to start killing a lot of humans, um, and you don't want to get caught. Um, you don't want to get caught. You don't really want to use a gun. You can breed crocodiles, and you can take them up to the lake up north, and you can release these crocodiles into the lake between, Memorial Day to Labor Day, so the whole summer. So these crocodiles can eat people. And every time there's a crocodile attack at the lake, you know that you're responsible for that death. So over 10 years, you get 2 deaths a year. There's, 20 people dead in 10 years. You have, serial killer status without actually having to, stab people or shoot people or hire a hitman or, eat people like Jeffrey Dahmer, or cut people like Ted Bundy. You could still have the death count without really risking yourself to get caught. Unless they figure out who bred the crocodiles, then I'm sure you would get caught for that. But then I'm like, I don't think a serial killer would do that, because I think half the rush that serial killers get is gaining the control over someone's life, because for whatever reason they feel that they are lacking control and they want control of their life. So they make sure, so their act of killing people, of grabbing people, of raping people, of cutting people open into pieces, disfiguring them, eating them, whatever it is, whatever serial killer we're talking about here, the act of doing that is an act of control, organization, and it fulfills them. It makes them feel good about themselves when you can cut people up and eat them, like in Jeffrey Dahmer's case. And I think also at the same time, serial killers want to do the killing. There's something really personal about that they get off on that in some weird, demented, disgusting way. They get off on actually taking someone's life from them. And I think a crocodile wouldn't do that for them because they wouldn't see it. They're just hearing it on the news. And also at the same time, well, I mean, unless they can get a part of the body, and then having their body is like a trophy. But that was one of the things that I thought about, and I was kind of, it startled me. I was like, God damn, I shouldn't just be able to pop that off my head like that. That shouldn't just come to my head. I shouldn't just be able to sit there thinking about chocolate, falling asleep, whatever. And next thing you know, I'm thinking about man-eating crocodiles. And I don't know what got me to thinking about that. I think it's because every time you go to a lake around here, which I'm sure it's different down south, and there's alligators in Virginia, just way south, between there's swamps in the southern part of Virginia. I'm speaking about Virginia because that's where I'm going to be by the time this podcast comes out. But North Carolina and Virginia, there's a little swamp area where they say there's alligators there, and there's black bears, bobcats, and whatever, all that good stuff. But I was thinking, when I go to a lake, I just think of the lake as a big pool. I think everyone who goes to the lake just thinks of lakes as a big pool. But then I was like, well, if you go to a lake in Florida, if you go to a lake in Georgia, Texas, or Louisiana, you're swimming with dinosaurs. These alligators aren't just they exist. There's things that can really fuck you up in those lakes. And I was just thinking about how easy it would be to get away with killing a lot of people if you lived and you vacationed to a lake up here in the Virginia area. And I shouldn't think like that, but it's just, I think everyone has dark thoughts. I just share mine probably at times I shouldn't. But yeah, probably shouldn't share it on this podcast, but I thought it was interesting. Another thing that's interesting to me is vegetarians, man. I don't know what happened to vegetarians. I think Taylor brought this up, and I just kind of ran away with it. You remember 10 years ago when the idea of being a vegetarian was popular. People did it. People talked about it. We all knew somebody who did it. There was regular eating people. I think I don't want to offend people, but there's people who were herbivores. They ate meats, from animals, and they ate vegetables and fruits, carbs. They ate like a human, right? Like your standard human. Um, and then you had vegetarians that were on the opposite side of the spectrum, where they just didn't eat like chicken, steak, um, but they ate animal products like eggs, milk, cheese, anything that's a byproduct of an animal, as long as it's not the flesh of an animal. And I'm talking just diets, not religious ways of eating, like kosher or whatnot. But like, and I forget what the um, Muslims have a specific uh, diet too. I don't I don't know what it's called. Um, and I don't want to offend people, so I'm not going to try to make up a name. Definitely shouldn't do that, especially since there's 1 billion Muslims in the world, 2 billion. There's a lot of Muslims in the world. Um, I don't know what. No, that's the God Allah. Fuck, I don't know. But yeah, there was a time where just 10 years ago, people ate like herbivores, or they ate just everything except no meat, but they ate byproducts of meat, and those were the two sides. There was no extreme sides, and in the middle there was like pescatarians. No, fuck, pescatarians. It's the pescatarians. No, that's a religion. Pescatarian. I gotta look this up. I should definitely know what this means. What are the people that eat fish? Diet where you eat fish. Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. Pescatarians. I thought I knew what it was, but then I questioned myself. And then there's like pescatarians in the middle, people who ate fish too. Vegetarians eat fish. Pescatarians eat fish, but they don't eat any animal products. And that was as extreme as it got. Fast forward 10 years from now, you have carnivore diet. There's real doctors and scientists who believe that that's the way you're supposed to eat. Nutrition's weird. It's a soft science. There's so many different levels to it. People who say keto's terrible. There's, on the flip side, there's people who say keto's the only way to eat. There's people who say vegan's the only way to eat. But if you do it wrong, it could fuck you up. But the people who eat just meat are evil. It's unhealthy. There's no right way to eat. There's no wrong way to eat. There's just the best way to eat for yourself, right? And there's a wrong way to eat too much. That's the wrong way to eat, just too much. But fast forward to 2020, you have carnivores, people who just eat meat, and you have vegans, right? People who just eat plants. They don't eat meat at all. And then in the middle, there is everything else. But there's a time where vegetarians were prominent. But over these last 10 years, vegetarians have been pushed out of the circle. You can't be a vegetarian anymore. And it's really interesting. It almost like magnifies, it almost is parallel with the growth of culture as a whole. Culture has become so polarizing. The society we live in now, there's no room for middle ground on anything. And it always comes politically to me, but red versus blue. You can't find talking points on the middle of any parties. Parties are not allowed to blend anymore. And I found this so interesting because diets are the same way. The way people eat, it's so deep in our culture now, where if you choose this thing versus this thing, and if you possibly swim out to the middle of the water to meet up with somebody who's on the other side and you communicate with them, you're almost outcasted. And vegetarians have been like that outcasted group. I don't know that many vegetarians. Maybe they're just not as outspoken as vegans, but now you're either a vegan or you're all meat, or you're just herbivore. It's like that little segment of the population went away. And it was really fascinating. I don't know. I just thought about that. And that was something that, I don't know, just crossed my mind. And I think it symbolizes the world that we're living in more than anything. where you aren't allowed to have half in, half out views on anything. And if you don't have a solidified viewpoint, your opinion doesn't matter. You need to take your flag and you need to put it in things. You need to put it in talking points, and you can't take that flag out and possibly put it somewhere else. You have to take that flag and you got to pin it up against things. And in the act of you pulling that flag out or trying to pull that flag out makes you an enemy to the side that you were just with. Even if you weren't planning on taking it out and moving it, you're planning to take it out and then listen to other talking points. It doesn't exist anymore. That's inappropriate, unacceptable, cannot do that. And I find that very interesting, and I find that the vegan thing was very similar to that. The vegetarian thing is very similar to that. People who are vegetarian are that person who took out the flag from the vegan side or from the herbivore side or from the carnivore side, and they kind of just want to give it a go in the middle. But that's unacceptable. You can't do that. And I think that's a big issue with a lot of matters. I really do. I think it's the downfall of society when you can't have open communication. That is the biggest issue in the world, is when you can't have open communications with people that come from different walks of life. And on top of that, if you do have an open communication, however that is developed, either through podcasts like Joe Rogan Experience, where you get people from different views, different worlds coming together and talking. Well, now if you accept the other viewpoint, both people are outcasted. I find that it's disappointing, and I thought it was interesting how diets, the way you ate, is like it's a micro example of that. But under a microscope, it amplifies the real issue. Yeah, I don't know. I thought that was super, super duper interesting. One other thing I noticed, I don't know if protests are still going on at this time, because I'm doing this podcast a whole week in advance, 8 days in advance. So I'm trying to stay off of events taking place, because I don't think that's professional when you talk about something that happened like a week ago. So I'm trying not to do that. But one thing that I did notice when the protests are going on, or if the protests are still going on, if I was on my phone, which I'm not, because at the lake I don't have service, which is the greatest thing in the world. The lake is the best vacation because I don't have service. I can't get on my phone. So I'm pre-uploading all these podcasts so I can just release them and not have to worry about them. I'm going to have to upload like the clips on Instagram, but I can do that like through my girlfriend's phone. If that just takes a second or whatever, do that in the morning. I'm thinking I shouldn't be talking. That's just what I'm thinking. When you do a podcast, you don't have time to really take your thoughts, break them down, and then make talking points. You kind of just have thoughts that turn right into talking points, which is, I think, an issue for a lot of podcasts. Or that's what makes them great. But the one thing I noticed, so TikTok is a Chinese-owned social media platform, and everybody knows that. A lot of organizations can't use them. Like, I know in the military, you can't have TikTok on your phone. If you work for like CIA or FBI, or if you work in a government building, you can't have TikTok on your phone. And it's one of those things that I think people hear and they kind of just let it go out the other ear. I use TikTok. I hear it. I know you're not allowed to. I know like government officials won't let you have it on your phone because China owns it, which is like, besides us, maybe they're even above us, like the strongest world power in the world. I mean, at least they definitely have us beat financially, I would say, or they will have us beat financially. One thing that's going on with the coronavirus and the lockdown is, I don't think people are realizing this, but since China, they're focused so heavily on selling items to people, that's like a big thing that they do. And if you look at America, when we were going through the Industrial Revolution, that's what we did. we sold a lot of goods to a lot of countries. That was how we made our economy so strong. We sold to other countries. And one thing I think China is going through right now, since they are locked off from us, which is probably the biggest customer, and they've been locked off. They've been blocked off from selling us things for like 6 months now, I would say. Maybe less than that, but close to 6 months. They had to adapt and start developing their economy off the back of finances. The same way we develop our economy off of selling stocks and transferring money overseas and then buying it back, but with interest added, so we make money that way. Offering loans to countries and banking money, wire transfers. That's how we make our money. We're very less industrial, car manufacturing to giving out loans, buying interest or buying stock in companies. And that's how we make our money now, transferring and selling money, because we all know that with money, the more transactions money have, usually you make money off of each transaction, whether it be from interest added or stuff like that. That's how the rich countries keep getting richer, is off of bank transactions. I don't know how realistic it is, but I do think there's a legitimate fear that China could easily become that. They could become a country where they don't rely on other countries to buy their shit anymore. They can sell to their people, since their people need the product, and since everyone needs a product and can't sell it to other countries. It's looking like China's just becoming this world domination of a player. And it's scary because communist countries have always been medieval. Like, they usually get left behind. Cuba, Venezuela, Soviet Union, North Korea, a lot of these countries, I'll poke myself with a cactus. Their technology fails because when there's not competition in a country, capitalism breeds advancements in technology. I mean, capitalism is innovation. Without capitalism, you don't have innovation. Competition is capitalism. Competition is the result of innovation is a result of successful competition that stems from capitalism. And China has this weird ability to be communist but function economically as capitalist, but their government functions as a communist country. And they're such an old country. They've been around for so long, dynasties. Like, they literally have had legit dynasties, and yet they're still so successful at what they do. And their roots run so deep in that country, and they have so much land. They are a world dominant country, and it seems like this coronavirus has just played in their favor. And we all know that during the 2016 elections, Russia played a huge they were a huge reason why Trump won. They were using fake Twitter sites to convince people who were on the borderline of Hillary or Trump they pushed those borderline people to vote for Trump. And a lot of people say that's the reason why Trump became president. And for the first, 3 years of his presidency, people were trying to prove that he was in bed with Russia. He was in bed with Putin. And we all know that was a huge thing. And I don't know 100%, but eventually came out that he wasn't in bed with Russia. And who really knows? I don't know. No one really knows exactly. But the evidence shows that he wasn't. And the TikTok thing seems, this is just my conspiracy, this is just me looking at it from my perspective, but it seems very similar to that. During the time of the protest, at the heat of the protest, TikTok was acting very strange. So on my TikTok account, the videos I've liked are like 5 food videos and then my own videos. I've never liked any other videos. It knows my birthday. It knows where it knows my email address. It knows my Instagram because I have it linked up to my Instagram. So I think maybe it takes what I like from my Instagram. I don't know what it does. I don't know how it does because on my Instagram, the things I like are food, fitness pages, a lot of Jordan Peterson stuff, Joe Rogan stuff, stuff like that. But when I get on TikTok, my feed, and I follow one person or two people, no, three people. My girlfriend, Gary Vaynerchuk, and my sister. I follow three people. And every time I get on TikTok, it always, for the first 5 months, it was people dancing. It was girls dancing. It was some food videos. It was things that I don't ever look at on TikTok. And it was just like feeding me what I think I should be seeing. And then when the protest broke out, there was a sudden switch on the algorithm where now it was feeding me things that were going against what the protest was. So during the protest, it was a lot of bashing Trump. It was a lot of justice for African American people, saying cops were bad, saying fuck the police, get them out of here. They're evil, they're pigs. I hopped on TikTok, and it was weird. There was African American people who were doing TikToks wearing Make America Great Again hats in support of police officers and putting up numbers that weren't showing how many times cops have killed unarmed black men, but how many times cops were killed by black men. And it was weird. It was like separating from what I was seeing on the news and what I was seeing in the protest versus what this other side was presenting to me. So it was showing me like these conflicting ideas. And I like to think I'm smart. I'm a smart person. I'm a capable person. And I look at this, I'm like, what the fuck is this? Why is this showing this to me? I didn't like anything. I didn't even post on TikTok. I wasn't even on TikTok for like 5 days during the whole protest. And now it's like showing me something that if I was 100% on board with the protest, that's what pissed me off. And then something went off my head. I was like, well, this is what TikTok is trying to do. And TikTok is used by the young people. And young people are impressionable as hell. And young people don't have ideas that have thick, strong roots into anything, really. They're bouncing around all over the place like an atom, just bouncing around with energy, with potential to have huge effects on the world, but just not grounded in anything, not a mature atom. And it was fascinating because China owns TikTok. So I was like, there's a conflict that this country is potentially, just conspiracy, but is China potentially trying to make a conflict in America by portraying what's on CNN, which is an American-owned company, versus what they want you to see on TikTok because they know it'll cause an issue with the country and with people. And it was just so fascinating to me because it was so apparent. It was so obvious. And since the government's not allowed to use TikTok, they wouldn't even know it's happening, you know? So it's like this weird, like, bottom of the house in this basement in this dark corner part of society that is getting this viewpoint. Because I could only imagine how many people are watching it and yelling at their phone. Also, I don't know, like, if when I made my TikTok account, if it asked me for my ethnicity. It might have. I'm not sure. I know a lot of like things when you sign up for it, it asks you for your ethnicity. It might have asked me for my ethnicity. And in that case, that even is more appalling or apparent to me. I'm like, well, what is going on here? I just found it so fascinating that TikTok is putting stuff in my feed that would lead a normal person to feel conflicted over. I didn't feel conflicted over it just because I don't trust, technology or social media to me is purely a marketing thing, so I don't really let my emotions get into it too much. But I did find it super fascinating. One other thing I just wanted to talk about real quick because I'm hungry and my neck is starting to hurt. I think I was talking too loud in this podcast. Did you guys? Ow! I just keep on poking myself. Did you guys hear last week? There was that incident with. I just wanted to bring it up, but I'm sure it's passed by. I just thought this was appalling for someone to say. So CrossFit is under fire because the CEO Institute for Health Metrics, I think, tweeted racism and discrimination are critical public health issues that demand an urgent response. Hashtag Black Lives Matter. Read our director's statement, blah, 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 blah. That's just a website. And then the picture that they tweeted with that is racism is a public issue, which, yes, it absolutely is. And he said, Craig Glassman, who is proudly overweight and is also proudly the CrossFit CEO, responded to this picture saying, it's Floyd 19. Acting like, well, first of all, what does that even mean? Like, he's saying that this is all an outrage because of George Floyd. He's creating all this disaster. When no, he was brutally murdered by a racist cop. And after that happened, CrossFit has completely plummeted. I don't think CrossFit is a public company. I don't think CrossFit's, yeah. It's not a public company. But if you look at, so this one tweet destroyed CrossFit. Gyms are unaffiliating with them, so they won't hold classes. They won't use CrossFit equipment. They won't brand CrossFit at all. That's $1 million gone right there for CrossFit. I don't think it's $1 billion company, but it's worth hundreds and hundreds of million. Reebok dropped them. Reebok was their biggest partner. Winners of the CrossFit Games are quitting CrossFit. They're leaving it. And Rogue is severing ties. So Rogue is synonymous with CrossFit. Rogue CrossFit. It makes all the equipment for CrossFit. It is CrossFit. So is Reebok. It's CrossFit. CrossFit has been canceled. It's gone. It's because of this one person saying this just completely insensitive and irresponsible thing is gone. It's gone. Which I think CrossFit is an issue in its own, but I thought that was so fascinating that somebody would say something so stupid. Like, I wonder how dumb you have to be in a position where you know that what you say can impact so many people, and you fuck up and you say something so stupid. I always wonder about that. I think some people just get to this point where they feel like they're so in power that they don't think that they have to be sensitive on anything, or they're so disconnected from reality because they are so powerful and they have so much money, and their voice makes such a big impact that they feel like they just don't have to act by the rules anymore. And that's what the whole Me Too movement was, and that's what a bunch of shit is. Like, people looking for justice. It's like, hey, assholes, you don't own all the power, and people get humbled real quick. And it looks like CrossFit is suffering big time from this. A lot of people are suffering from this. If you support CrossFit, I'm sure people are gonna, if they know about that tweet, and I know the people who listen to my podcast, if you've made this far, now you know, are gonna associate that with racism, or and that sucks because I enjoy CrossFit. I do CrossFit workouts, but I'm going to avoid that word now just because of what that person said. Unfortunately, he said that. It sucks because CrossFit helps so many people get in shape, and it puts so many barbells in people's hands. Especially for the women community, it taught women that barbells are okay. You can use barbells to get in shape. I don't know. I thought that was fucked up. But yeah, guys, that's all I really got to talk about. That's all I really got to say on this podcast. I'm enjoying the lake. I'm happy to just have a week off. I'm going to upload another podcast on Thursday, so make sure you stay in tune for that. I just want to say a big thank you. We're already killing it with the listens this month. It's been a magical month for me. The lockdown has been hard a lot. It's hard with school. I haven't been able to work, but I knew that when this lockdown happened, I was going to grow the shit out of my podcast. I knew that was going to happen because I had time, and I was like, I need something to keep my mind off the lockdown, and the podcast is what I focused on. And as a result of that, it has been growing, and it's because of people who listen and watch, and I'm so grateful for that. We're closing to 200 reviews. Make sure you guys keep on dropping those reviews. It helps me tremendously. It really does. And hopefully by the next episode, I have my brand new mic, and I can put this mic, hook it up to my other mic over there, my other mic arm. Losing my voice, guys. 3 podcasts in 4 days. My voice is going to go. But thank you guys so much for listening to the episode. I will catch you guys on Thursday. Be blessed. Stay safe. Yeah, guys. Thank you so much. Peace out. Thank you. I'll catch you guys Thursday. See ya.